What's up, LA Gamers? Jack Jones here. This is a in-depth creatine video. It's going to cover what is creatine, how does it work, is it safe, how should you dose it. I'll be referring to my notes here from time to time, so don't mind me if I look down. And then I have a 71-day before and after transformation of getting back on creatine. I've been off of it for about 6 years, and I'll go into the reasons why for that as well. So let's just go ahead and get started. Talk about creatine, what is it in general and how does it work. So in a very broad sense, what creatine does is it will draw in water to your muscles, so it will increase the volume of your muscles, is going to increase your strength and increase your overall energy levels. So you can expect about a 5 to 7% increase in your overall weight from taking creatine, just because it's drawing in more water to your skeletal muscle cells. You can also expect about a 5 to 10% increase in strength about 30 days after you get on creatine for similar reasons. And then the other big piece is you can expect to have more energy, both in the gym and just throughout the day. And it's this more energy aspect that we're gonna delve into a little more deeply right now. And how that works is through ATP. So ATP is adenosine triphosphate. It is your cell's basic energetic process. That's what your cell uses to generate energy for you to do things. And the specific pathway we're going to talk about is the ATP-PC system. So that means the adenosine triphosphate phosphocreatine system. And stay with me here, because this will make creatine make a lot more sense rather than all this stuff you read on the internet of, oh wait, it draws in water and it makes you stronger because your muscles get bigger. So this I think makes creatine even more worthwhile to take once you truly understand how it works. So how ATP works is when your body needs energy for any kind of work, any kind of skeletal muscle work, it breaks down adenosine triphosphate, so you got 3 phosphate groups here, into adenosine diphosphate, and it splits off one of these groups, phosphate groups here, and then energy is released from that, and that energy is what your body uses to do work, to do your bench press, to do your squats, to think, to do every single thing that your body needs energy for. This is a system. Breaks down adenosine triphosphate into adenosine diphosphate. Okay, let's talk specifically about the ATP-PC system. So that system is what we use specifically for short duration, high intensity energy work. So that is what your body uses to replenish your ATP when you're doing things like squats, deadlifts, anything high intensity, anything of a kind of a maximal effort. So non-aerobic work, so not jogging, not any of these other things. Your ATP-PC system is most important for your high-intensity work. And so what happens during your ATP-PC system is, okay, you're breaking down your ATP, and then so now you have an adenosine diphosphate, so you've got 2 phosphate groups here, and then your body takes your phosphocreatine, combines it with the adenosine diphosphate to then create another ATP molecule or whatever, I don't know, I'm not a chemist, but that's what it does. So your body, during your high intensity exercise, your body takes ATP, breaks it down into ADP, which then you use your phosphocreatine along with your ADP to create more ATP so that you can do more work. Basically, what that says is that oral creatine does increase your levels of both phosphocreatine and adenosine triphosphate, ATP, in your cells. And what that translates into is directly more energy that is available for your skeletal muscles. So just these are your skeletal muscles, biceps. Every muscle group is a skeletal muscle. You have more ATP within your skeletal muscles to do work. And here's another study. Again, it's saying that by increasing your levels, by taking in creatine orally, you're going to increase your phosphocreatine, which is then increasing your levels of ATP, which is then giving you more work capacity. You're going to be able to work harder, work longer. You're going to be able to recover more quickly from workouts. And that is at the core of weightlifting, of bodybuilding, of putting on strength, putting on mass, is you need to increase the work volume that you're doing week over week, or you're not going to make progress. So if creatine is giving your muscles the ability and the energy to contract longer, to recover ATP faster, then what that means is in the gym, you're going to be able to lift harder, you're going to be able to recover more quickly between sets, and overall do more work. And what that's going to lead to is then more strength gains, more muscle gains, and more of all of the outcomes that you're actually in the gym for. So that's why the argument of people saying creatine draws in water to your muscles, it just puts in water. If you stop taking it, it stops working, so it's a useless supplement, is completely false, because it is actually increasing your levels of ATP, of energy in your cells. Therefore, you're able to work harder. Therefore, you're able to make more gains in both strength and size than you would have if you hadn't taken creatine. So if you took creatine for a year, at the end of that year, even if you stopped, you would be bigger and stronger, have more work capacity than if you hadn't taken it for that whole year, even though, right, once you stop taking it, you will lose 5 to 7% of your weight in water volume, and you will drop down in strength. But the cumulative effects of the strength and the size it lets you build because of your increased work capacity through these energetic channels, that's what the true benefit of creatine is. Moving on, is creatine safe? Yes, creatine absolutely is safe. There is really no clinical evidence that shows creatine damages your heart or your liver or any other organ groups. There is really no evidence that shows that. And creatine is one of the supplements that has been in use the longest. So creatine has been around for a really long time. Athletes have been using it for a really long time, and there is really no studies that show it having an adverse effect on people's health. So with that being said, the biggest danger of creatine is in dehydration. So I didn't take it for 6 years because I was in the Army during that time, and in the Army you never know when you're going to be short on water, when you're doing a lot of really intense things, you're doing things for super extended periods of time, and that's kind of a risk I couldn't take, because when you're on creatine, you do need a lot more water intake to stay hydrated. If you take in the water, you're fine. But if you're in a situation where you're getting dehydrated, as it is if you're a roofer working on a hot summer's day and you find you're having trouble staying hydrated as it is, you probably shouldn't take creatine. Same with the Army. If you don't know when your next water resupply is going to be, you probably shouldn't take creatine, because that adds a level of danger and risk to it. And so that was an unacceptable level of risk, because really, it's very dangerous. You get super dehydrated, you're out in the field, you're hot, you have a heat stroke, your brain is fried. That's the danger there. So that's the danger, is it requires you to intake more water, so it increases the risk of dehydration, of heat stroke, of all of those other things, which if you stay hydrated are not a problem. But just keep that in mind. If you're doing things in your life that make it difficult for you to stay hydrated, then I wouldn't take creatine. Okay, finally, how do you dose creatine? So commonly you'll read on the internet that you should dose it at 5 grams a day. You'll read some things that say do a 20-gram loading phase for 10 to 20 days. So that loading phase, completely unnecessary. You don't need to do a loading phase. It doesn't help you at all. And that 5 gram a day, so for creatine, this isn't really based on research articles that I found. This is just based on my own experience and logic. So for pretty much every supplement, there's a sweet spot that you can take. There's too much, too little, and a sweet spot, right? And for a lot of different supplements, it is modulated based on your body weight. So a 300-pound lineman is going to need more protein intake than a 120-pound woman. And so since creatine acts within your skeletal muscles, then it would make sense that you would need to intake more if you have more skeletal muscle mass, and you would need to intake less if you have less. So this idea that 5 grams just blanket for everyone doesn't make sense to me. And even though the studies show that creatine is pretty safe, I still want to play it, take as little risk as necessary. Maybe down the line they find that 5 grams a day over 30 years causes some slight kidney damage. I don't know. But for me, what I found is 3 grams a day works best for me, and I landed on that number just because if I take 5 grams a day, then I notice I wake up feeling very dehydrated. My mouth is super dry, and I just don't feel great in the morning. So I want to avoid becoming super dehydrated during the evening. So then what I found is on 3 grams a day, I still see great results as far as strength and mass and energy levels, but I don't get that same cotton mouth, super dehydrated feeling when I wake up in the morning. So that's why I take 3 grams a day. So that's just something for you to play around with. And then the other part is timing. When do you take it? And for me, I found that I do notice a cognitive benefit. So taking creatine in the mornings, I notice I have more just energy mentally. And again, it goes back to that ATP pathway. And a lot of people actually use creatine purely as a nootropic and not for sports performance. And I also noticed that if I take creatine about half an hour before a workout, I have more energy, I recover more quickly, and that makes sense again because of this system. But the research doesn't really pan that out. It doesn't really show much of an effect of timing on it. So it could be all placebo, but even if it is placebo for me, it's working. So the placebo is an effect and it does work. So that's what I found to be effective for me. I say just play around with your dose, play around with your timing, find what works best for you. And that about covers it. If you have any more questions on creatine or other supplements, feel free to ask down in the comments. And hope this was useful to you. Let me know what you guys think about this kind of longer style format, more in-depth sort of video. If you guys like these, I'll do a lot more. We can cover all sorts of topics. And okay, now I'm rambling. That's about it. Thanks, guys. Have an awesome day.